Bob's Railroad Workbench. I'm Bob Letzenberger, Mr. Bob, Education Director at the National Museum. Here on Mr. Bob's Railroad Workbench, we talk about math, science, and history, and trains, and do it all with some very fun activities. If you're watching on Facebook Live and want to type in a question, well, feel free to do so. We'll answer those after today's segment. If you'd like to type in and just let us know who you are and where you're watching from, we'd from you, and then also make sure that you like the National Railroad Museum's Facebook page. When we talk, we use a language, Spanish, English, German, French, and we have words that can either be spoken or written. But what about a language that might be, say, signs? Or if someone is hard of hearing, they might use sign language. Or as we're driving down the road and we see that red sign that has 8 sides to it, well, that would mean stop, a symbol that we all understand. Well, if you're a hobo, there is a language that you have all your own, and we want to find out today if you speak Hobo. A lot of folks believe that hobos travel by trains around our country. Yes, that is very true. There are still a few folks that hobo today, but most hoboing, really the peak of it was during the Great Depression, the 1930s. Hoboing actually existed before trains arrived here in the United States. Hobos are basically migrant workers traveling from job site to job site trying to find work. And when the railroads came about, it became a very easy and convenient means for them to travel. Now, hobos had their own way of speaking, and you might have heard the term graffiti. And today there's virtually not a freight car out there that doesn't have graffiti on it. Graffiti, the markings on these cars, it is illegal, it is vandalism, it is also very dangerous because you have to trespass onto railroad property. Please do not do this. It is a very dangerous thing. But the hobos had a language that was signs and symbols that basically was a form of graffiti, if you will. As hobos traveled about, they would leave markings for fellow travelers to tell them about conditions on the road, where to get something to eat, where to avoid police, where might be a good place to sleep for the night. Now, this code, if you will, was not something that a hobo could just look up in a book or study in written form. No, it was a code. It was secret, if you will. It was unique to the hobos. And the way you learned it was that an older hobo would teach you as you became a trusted member of the hobo society. So today, let's see if maybe you know a little bit about speaking hobo, and if you can adapt all of the hobo signs and symbols. If you were traveling along as a hobo and you came across this particular marking, and hobo signs could appear on fence posts, on telephone poles, on the sides of buildings, on sidewalks, anywhere that the hobos might scratch or carve them to leave a message. So what do you think? If you ran into this symbol, what might you expect? Well, in the hobo language, that's bread. A good place to find some bread or to get some food. And if you're traveling out on the road, well, knowing where your next meal's coming from is always a good thing to know. How about this hobo symbol? Say you're walking along a road, it's getting toward evening time, and oh, hey, that barn over there looks like a pretty good place to curl up for the evening. But then as you're about to enter the farmyard, you notice this symbol carved into the post under the mailbox. My advice to you, stay on the road, keep going, find someplace else to sleep, because this particular hobo symbol means that there's a mean dog that lives there, and he's probably just waiting for you to take an errant step into his territory so he can take a bite out of the seat of your pants. I'd keep going if I were you. And how about this hobo symbol? Well, sometimes when you're traveling along and you don't want to be found out, this might be a good symbol to pay attention to, because in hobo language, this is an area in which you should be quiet. Well, now that you've seen a little bit of the hobo language, time for you to see if you can learn a little bit more of it. If you go over to our website, nationalrrmuseum.org, click on the Education tab, scroll down to the Activity Zone, look for Mr. Bob's Railroad Workbench. I have a Hobo language activity there for you to see if you can identify some of the Hobo language symbols. So now that you know a little bit more about the Hobo code, you should be able to speak Hobo. Also, when you visit the National Railroad Museum, as you stroll around our grounds to further your knowledge of the Hobo language, we do have a Hobo sign language hunt around the grounds that you can experience. A little bit more about the Hobo language. The National Railroad Museum inspires lifelong learning by providing dynamic educational opportunities through the preservation of railroad objects, engaging exhibits, and innovative programs. As a nonprofit educational institution, we are supported by both public and private donations and by our museum members. If you would like more information on how to support the National Railroad Museum, please visit our website, nationalrrmuseum.org. You will also find information there on how to become a museum member. And as always, we thank all of you very much for your continued support. Hey, I'm Mr. Bob. Thanks for stopping by Mr. Bob's Railroad Workbench today, and we hope to see you again real soon.